Haven't played Feral in a while or thinking of playing a bleed melee spec that does massive AoE damage? Hop into Feral and start doing massive damage right away with a quick talent build, a simple rotation, a few tips and tricks, and a lot of clawing and biting. This season, Druid of the Claw will be your main hero talent to play based on the current tuning. This makes your Ferocious Bite turn into Ravage occasionally, which is a stronger finisher, hits in a wide arc, puts another bleed on your enemies, and does a bunch more stuff from the hero talents. In raids, you will want to play this build right here. The focus is optimizing boss damage with big ferocious bites on top of what the tier set is doing. You will be using Feral Frenzy, a quick 5 combo point generator that does good damage and gives you access to another finisher way faster than normal. Dungeons and Delves will use this build. You will forego Feral Frenzy and some bite talents for more bleed damage and overall damage over time. Most notably, you will be playing the Apex Predator talent that makes Rip's damage tick have a small chance to make your next Ferocious Bite free and deal maximum damage. Since in AoE you will have Rip on all enemies, the proc chance of this rises dramatically to the point where, if the pack is big enough, you will barely have time to cast more than one ability in between your Apex procs. These builds are linked in the description for you to snag right away, and you will also find Guiltius's Wowhead guide on Feral as well. In his written guide you can get more builds and more advanced info on Feral. The guide is also sponsored by our Patreons that makes these videos possible, without the help of whom class guides might have not come back. If you find this guide helpful in any way, consider hitting the like and subscribe button, and for anyone interested what other stuff Patrons have access to, go to patreon.com/Marcelian&Flame. Thank you for supporting our content. If Feral was ever discouraging for you, that will stop now. The concept is fairly simple. You are a combo point class that builds them up and spends them on big finishing moves. Your regular combo point builders are Shred, your bread and butter single target ability. Rake, a likely more important builder since it also puts a bleed on your target. Brutal Slash, which is a talent that replaces your swipe, also your strongest builder in both AoE and single target. Lastly, Thrash is a weak combo point builder that hits enemies in an AoE fashion for a lot less damage, but applies a small bleed on all of them. Usually this will be your filler you cast occasionally to reapply its bleed or fill in for blood talents. And this is likely what makes people afraid of playing Feral. This talent has garnered a reputation of being difficult to play, but it has been simplified a bunch of times in the past, where now it mostly feels like a much simpler mechanic than Windwalker's Mastery. What this does is buffs you with 3 stacks that makes your next Rip or Ferocious Bite deal extra damage, each finisher consuming 1 stack. In an ideal world, you want all finishers to be used with a stack of this buff, but this will require some practice to pull off. To get blood talents up, you just need to use 3 different builders in the span of 4 seconds from pressing the first one. You have 4 builders already and plenty of time to cast them back to back. The 2 things you want to focus on is 1. Have enough energy to cast them in quick succession, and 2. Get used to not having the same builder casted twice in a row. This last rule is not absolute, since there are times when it's okay to spam Brutal Slash, for instance, but if you get in the habit of always casting a different builder, you will actually not even be able to consume your full 3 stacks of blood talents before you generate another round. This is not the best way to deal damage, and you want to optimize it a bit more as you get the hang of it, but it is how I found the easiest way to never cast a finisher without blood talents buffing it and get into the habit of always making sure that blood talents are up. Is up, it's 3 stacks. As for the finishers, you have mainly 3. Ferocious Bite is your big one, where you just deal big damage to your target and more damage if you cast it with 50 energy available. Normally it costs 25, but it can eat up an extra 25 if available and deal more damage in the process, and you 100% want to cast it this way always. Your second one is Rip, which is your main bleed ability. You ideally never want this to drop from your target, at least when you are starting out with Feral. Lastly, Primal Wrath is a finisher that puts up rips on all enemies, but the rips last for half as long. Despite this, the rips are applied to all enemies, giving you essentially uncapped AoE and one of the strongest points for Feral in this Mythic Plus meta. Lastly, your offensive cooldowns are Tiger's Fury, Berserk, and Convoke. Tiger's Fury and Berserk give you a flat damage amp, with each providing some additional benefits. Tiger's Fury gives you a fat chunk of energy, while Berserk will passively generate combo points, make combo point generators give one more combo point, and if you ever over-generate combo points, up to a total of 3, these will be stored and generated when you next use a finisher. Convoke is just a lot of damage in a quick channel, something you want to cast when you have both of the other 2 offensive abilities active on you. The opener for Feral is a bit more important since it sets up your damage for your cooldowns. In single target, you start with Rake, Brutal Slash, Thrash, and Adaptive Swarm. Use Berserk and Tiger's Fury, apply your Rip, use Feral Frenzy, Ferocious Bite, and then Convoke. After this, you continue to play more or less normally, remembering that Berserk will still go on and you will still be swimming in combo points for the duration. A general priority of your abilities to follow sees Tiger's Fury on cooldown as long as the energy it gives isn't wasted, ideally with Berserk at the same time. Your Adaptive Swarm needs to be maintained on the target as much as possible since it strengthens your damage over time effects on top of doing good damage. Use Feral Frenzy when you are out of combo points. Make sure your Convoke is always inside of your Berserk and Tiger's Fury windows. It has a 4-second channel, and if you are tracking the duration of your other 2, you can cast it anytime before they end. Maintain Rip on your target at all times. Use your Ravage proc if you have 5 combo points and you are over 50 energy, otherwise Ferocious Bite with the exact same conditions. Refresh Rake, especially if you are within your offensive cooldown windows, since they will keep the bleed buffed when they expire. Don't cap on Brutal Slash charges and keep the Thrash bleed up on your target. Lastly, your Shred is the lowest on the priority list, but don't think it's not important since you need it for Blood Talents quite often. The opener in AoE is similar, maybe even simpler. You start with Rake still, then Brutal Slash, Thrash, and Adaptive Swarm, cast Berserk and Tiger's Fury and press your first Primal Wrath. Go up to 5 combo points and cast a Ferocious Bite, then Convoke. Your abilities follow a priority list in AoE as well, where you want to cast them in that order if the conditions for their ideal damage output have been met. Use Tiger's Fury and Berserk on cooldown and always together when possible, otherwise make sure Tiger's Fury isn't being wasted together with the energy it provides. Consume your Apex Predator procs as soon as they become available. Cast Convoke if you are still in your Berserk and Tiger's Fury window. As a 2-minute cooldown ability, it should always sync up with Berserk at least. Use Primal Wrath if your enemies don't have Rip or Rip is about to fall off. Otherwise, use your Ferocious Bite at 5 combo points and once again with at least 50 energy for the bonus damage. Don't let your Brutal Slash cap on charges, similar to the single target situation, and also similar to single target, keep up your Thrash bleed on all enemies. Spread Rakes on as many enemies as you can, and that pretty much sums it up. I didn't mention in both cases, but Blood Talents is important to keep up at all times. In between all of these abilities, priority or not, you'll be generating combo points, and keeping Blood Talents is fully within your control. And if you think Feral is still too tricky, feel free to hop on our stream at twitch.tv/Marcelian&Flame and ask me about it. I play all specs on stream and do dungeons and raids with you as well. Feral can get more and more advanced the more you dive deeper into it. Although not something I recommend new players to focus on, snapshotting will become important when you want your damage to be as big as it can. Snapshotting is a mechanic that does what it kind of sounds like it does. It snapshots your character's power when you press an ability, particularly a damage over time ability, and applies that damage amp throughout its entire duration. What this means in practice is the moment you press your Rake and Rip, for instance, the damage of your bleed is calculated based on the stats your character has at that time. This can mean DPS potions, enchant procs, but more importantly Tiger's Fury and Berserk. If you cast a Rip in the last second of your Tiger's Fury and Berserk dropping, it will do the damage for the rest of its duration as if you still have Tiger's Fury and Berserk on you. That's what snapshotting means. Any proc of stats or flat damage increases your character receives will influence this. Now, it's not realistic to track everything since it can get messy, but at least your Tiger's Fury and Berserk should be considered. And one more thing, Stealth. Stealth empowers your Rake more specifically, increasing its damage by 60%, which applies to the damage over time it deals. It buffs Shred as well, but Rake is still better to be used. So ideally, you want to start combat from Stealth every time, or if you're a Night Elf, remember that your Shadow Melt is a Stealth enabler as well. You also have a talent called Sudden Ambush that occasionally procs after using a finisher and makes your next Rake or Shred deal damage as if you were in Stealth. This means you need to track this, and lo and behold, the Blizzard UI doesn't do a very good job at it, which is why we don't really want you to focus on too much on it at the beginning, since you'll require to start downloading weak cards and other add-ons. Your ideal stats to aim for is eye level first whenever agility is concerned, so really, agility is king. Mastery and critical strike second, and your go-to for most of your secondary stats, followed by haste and versatility last, as far as maximizing your damage is concerned. Or, sim your character if you want more accuracy. Lastly, the tier set is not much to talk about. It's very strong, don't get me wrong, but it's passive and not really gameplay changing at all. All you need is to remember that your Ravage will buff the shit out of your overall damage by quite a bit. That's it. The tooltip just says that in a lot of words when it could just be summarized in you do way more damage after you Ravage. We hope this made Feral way more approachable and stirred your appetite for the cat. We recommend Giltis's guide on it still for those looking to get more advanced tips and improve their gameplay even further. Additionally, the Dream Grove Discord is a good place to be when it comes to hanging around with other druids and talking druid things. Speaking of druid, there is more to learn about the class as a whole. Our balance guide teaches you about the spec that has kept Feral in the shadow for a long time, but also goes more into druid tips and tricks we didn't cover in this video.